It's I, Scott Bitch. You've probably heard me complain about the spines of video game packaging before, so I thought I'd just go through my collection and find all the spines that me and them have a history. Now, I don't really care. I'm just looking at this from like a design perspective or what I think looks nice. I don't look at these things and go like, ah, son of a bitch. I just go, oh, son of a bitch. Like, you know, I kind of look at these like, it's just like, oh, if they just tweak this one thing, they'd be a little bit better. And this is like one of the most minute, stupid things to complain about. Cancer still exists, but this bothers me. But I just think it's kind of fun to point out little things that I'm just like, I don't like this. Or like, if I could choose to have this ridden from society, yeah, sure. Might as well start with the console that really started it all. I have a couple of NES games here, games that have end labels that I just don't like. First up, we have Top Gun and Top Gun: The Second Mission on the NES. And here's my main problem with the end labels. They look the goddamn same. Like literally, you have Top Gun, the first one, and then Top Gun: The Second Mission, which is so much smaller. The logo is so much smaller that you can't even tell that it says The Second Mission. And yeah, that's one of the biggest issues with the end labels of all these older cartridge-based games. A lot of times, like the logo doesn't show up very well. Like I got Pinbot here. Can you tell? The only thing I can really see half the time when I see this on my shelf is the yellow ball in the middle. And even then, like, how the logo actually, it doesn't even look like this. I feel like if they would have used something closer to the coloring of the actual logo on the actual box art on the label, like it wouldn't kind of blend in as much as it does, which is probably why they gave it like a yellow ball kind of thing. But why even have to do that? Just make the logo brighter. But that's where Narc kind of has that issue. As you can see, it has a yellow splatter because in the arcades that was blood. But you know, splatter's okay if it's piss yellow. But because they have this yellow splatter on this white logo on the on the end label, what the hell is that supposed to be? Like, I don't even think most people could probably read that. But this is one that really tripped me up the first time I saw it. And it actually made me think that like there's like a bootleg copy of the game. But no, the original Castlevania on NES. The end label, like, the C isn't capitalized. Why? What's the point of that? Like, why isn't the C capitalized? The V is still going crazy, but the C is just not capitalized. I don't know why. It's more work to uncapitalize it. You could have just used the same logo from this, but no! I don't get it, man. Some of these end labels are just a little funky, but, you know, hey, these are like my most annoying ones out of my entire collection, which shows that the NES end label's not that bad overall. Pretty decent affair, you know? I don't have much of a problem with it. Super Nintendo, not a ton of problems, but got a couple here. All right, so I got Yoshi's Island here, and this is kind of like, this is one of the less bigger, like big versions of this issue, but I don't really have many other games that have this this little problem. And, you know, so I'm just kind of like, all right, well, I'll just use Yoshi's Island as an example. As you can see, the title here in North America was Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, but on the end label, it's just Yoshi's Island. Let's be fair, that's what most people called this game anyways. Like, when you're talking about this game, chances are you're gonna call it Yoshi's Island. But that just kind of forces me to go like, all right, well, I'm probably gonna put it, I organize my games alphabetically, so, you know, I'm probably gonna put it, you know, with the Ys. But then you have something like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time, and on that end label, it's just Turtles 4. Like, you can't tell me you didn't have enough space for the whole title. Even TMNT 4, Turtles in Time. But no, it's just Turtles 4. Why? And it just kind of makes you think, it's just like, you know, like, I'm gonna put this where it belongs, you know, alphabetically. But where is that? Is it Super Mario World? Is it right after Super Mario World? Or is it in the Ys? But there's like a couple, and like obviously, you know, it's kind of based on like, all right, do you consider this Yoshi's Island or Super Mario World 2? Whatever, that's up to you to decide. But, you know, when you put it on a shelf, it just looks funky. Because it's just like, I put this after Super Mario World, and it's just like, I'm not alphabetically wrong, but it looks fucking gross because it starts with a Y. And that actually reminds me of P&O 3 on the GameCube. I don't have that game, but yeah, the full name is Product Number 3. And most people just call it P&O 3, but the spine just says P&O 3, but the box art says Product Number 3. And I'm just kind of like, all right, you know, it's just like, where do you put that? Thankfully, in the GameCube library, I'm pretty sure like either way, even if you classified it as P&O 3 or product number 3, it would, I believe it would probably still go in the exact same location that it would alphabetically. But still, I'm just kind of like, I don't like it when the spine contradicts the actual game title, even if it's something minor like this one. But a big one that I have is a spine that completely contradicts the game title. Because there's no fucking game title! X-Zone on the Super Nintendo. Yep. Yeah, there's no label on this one. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why. At least that means that it sticks out more this way. It's just like, oh, where's X-Zone? Where's X-Zone at? It's just like, oh, how about the only game without any label? I don't know. It's just a little weird. But Super Nintendo, overall, pretty good. My main problem is that the spines are a little hard to read. NES, all the spines are these different crazy colors and different designs, different fonts, all that stuff. Super Nintendo, pretty much all the spines are black. You know, the font and the text is generally sometimes mostly the same, but a lot of times like the colors they choose, or if they use like a logo like Chrono Trigger, that's kind of hard to see because they just use the full Chrono Trigger logo, and because of that, like, you know, it's just kind of smaller on the label, and it's just harder to read. Super Nintendo games I find are kind of hard to pick out of a crowd. So I would say I do prefer how NES games look on a shelf, just because it's easier to kind of pick them out when you want to play them. N64, I don't have any complaints. All I have are what ifs. Absolutely no end labels on these cartridges, so they dodged a bullet on being included in this discussion here, and instead are relegated to eternal damnation because of never having end labels. So let's move over to the PlayStation. I only had one that I didn't really care for. I don't like this one. Why is it in parentheses? Just do CTR : Crash Team Racing. I just don't like the parentheses. I don't know. I don't know why. I just don't like them. Got some PlayStation 2 right here. Only have this example, God of War, or specifically God of War 2. We look at like God of War spine. Hey, looking good. You got God of War right there, and then the old God of War logo at the very bottom. Perfectly fine. God of War 2 is literally the exact same goddamn thing, but with the 2 on the God of War logo right there. It doesn't even say God of War 2, it just says God of War, and then the 2 is in a completely different orientation on the bottom. Sure, that's kind of cute and clever, but it kind of bugs me because sometimes I'm looking and it's just like, I think God of War 1 is God of War 2, or God of War 2 is God of War 1. Not a huge fan of this. I think some people may look at this and go, that's kind of neat, but I don't know. I just think it's kind of like, well, that's just a little more annoying than it's neat to me. Moving on to GameCube, I don't really have any problem with the GameCube spines. Most of them I really like. I do think there's like some inconsistency in terms of like, oh, some of the GameCube games use this standardized font like Super Smash Bros. Melee and Luigi's Mansion and Wave Race Blue Storm and Pikmin and Mario Sunshine, stuff like that. They all use a very similar font, and then some games use like more creative, you know, like the actual game logos. But I think there's enough color involved and just like enough of the game's personality across all of the game spines where I don't mind it at all. I think it looks nice, and I love the GameCube box template. But I looked at these, and it just kind of like, it kind of goes with like just like another alphabetizing kind of quirk that I have, and it's about Disney. Okay, like I got a problem with this. So like these three games, you know, this one is Disney's Party, okay? That's the full title, Disney's Party. What would you call this game? Tarzan Untamed? No, it's Disney's Tarzan Untamed. And then what, Magical Mirror starring Mickey Mouse? No, f you, it's Disney's Magical Mirror starring Mickey Mouse. So it's just like, I've just always kind of been in a pickle of like, all right, do I put this with M? Do I put this with T? Because it's just like, I'm not going to think of this game as Disney's Tarzan Untamed. I'm going to think of it as goddamn Tarzan Untamed. But Disney's Party makes sense to put with the D's, you know? It's like, like, you're not gonna call this just Party. It's Disney's Party. It was more of like a generic party game with Disney, with like Mickey Mouse characters, so it makes sense to call this Disney's Party. But then why is this called Disney's Tarzan Untamed? Of course, it's Disney's version of Tarzan, but I'm just gonna call it Tarzan Untamed. And I'm just like, when does it end for Disney? I mean, we have Disney Pixar Cars. Like, what? Is that the whole title? I mean, Disney is right there. It doesn't have to be there, but do I put this with the D's? You know, that's a problem with like a lot of Disney games on all different kinds of platforms. I know like you have Epic Mickey on the Wii, technically the name is Disney Epic Mickey or Disney's Epic Mickey or something like that. And I'm just like, come on, man. Just like, I don't get it. Oh, I got something to say about this one. The Wii. I think I have more of a higher standard for what I consider to be a good spine on the Wii, considering that the Wii has some of the nicest looking spines out there. Just the fact that all these games follow the same format of like just pure white game logo, the Wii logo, all that stuff. Like I take this stuff very seriously, as you can clearly tell, which is why it really does make me think I need to see a professional, because these bug me. They're just slightly off color, because like these are all like game show games made by Ubisoft, Hollywood Squares, and the Family Feud games, and they all have this kind of glittery box art, which means I think that kind of translates over to the spine, where the spine is just kind of a slightly different color, because the box art itself is this, different material to do the sparkliness. I don't like it. And then Resident Evil: The Dark Side Chronicles had a bit of an issue where like I don't know, you forget something? I don't know how you forget something like that. Resident Evil has always had a problem with their spines. I know Resident Evil Revelations, or Revelatons, on the 3DS, the initial prints of that had a misspelling on the spine. See, that shows I'm not alone, because people care about their spines. But this one, it's just the Wii logo is missing. That's just more so kind of a funny little quirk. It's kind of like the Darksiders War Mastered Edition on the Nintendo Switch. Like the initial runs of that had kind of that black spine. And that's more so kind of a cute little quirk than like a huge annoyance to me. Like I'm kind of like, what? That's interesting, isn't it? Let me go over to this one. Back to the Future, the game. Really cool game. Basically Back to the Future 4 as a point-and-click adventure game by Telltale. And I got a port on the Wii. I don't know. Just something like this is just kind of like... And I don't know, I don't care, but it's just kind of like, I don't really care for the fact that they squeeze the entire logo as a tiny little thing right there, and then they repeat it in like a more standardized font right there. Now it almost looks like the same font that they use in like the opening credits of the movies, and this game for that matter, and it might just be. So that's kind of cool, but I'm kind of like, pick one or the other, man. I mean, to be fair, if it was just the logo and this thing wasn't there, I'd still complain about it. I don't like when you squeeze the entire logo just like on a spine like that, and a lot of games do that. Just squeeze the logo right there, and then the rest is blank. I don't like that. I'm kind of like, just go out of your way to just make like a standard a logo that fits on a spine. Like, just create a new logo for that. I don't like when they squeeze it on there. But I'm kind of like, I would have just preferred if they just axed the entire logo right there and just do this one right here. Instead, you double up and you still have the weird small logo. I don't know. This makes me feel like a heartless son of a bitch when I complain about it. I don't like when they put little characters on box arts like this. Like, it's just like, half the appeal of the Wii is just kind of like, oh man, look how sleek and minimalistic the spines are, and then you have little tiny characters just at the bottom or on the box art somehow. I'm just kind of like, it makes me feel heartless, because it's supposed to be cute, it's supposed to be neat, but I'm just kind of like, just get rid of him. He can stay. For that matter, I don't like any of the EA games because they all have EA's logo at the bottom, and I don't know, it just kind of sticks out to me. I don't really like just looking at the Wii games and just seeing all the EA logos on the bottom, especially considering not nearly as many companies put their logos at the bottom of their Wii games. I just don't like how consistently inconsistent that makes my Wii games look. And I might as well talk about, this guy, the big yellow one, Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games. New Super Mario Bros. Wii was kind of like this revolution in being a different case color. The spine was red, the case was red, everything was red. But that was kind of cool about it. That was like, oh, wow, that's neat. I think everybody remembers that red case. Now, I will say, like, in terms of case annoyances, Nintendo eventually reprinted New Super Mario Bros. Wii and replaced the red case with a white one. And that's the one I have. I don't have the red case anymore. And yeah, that's kind of lame. Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games tried to kind of follow a similar thing. I think this is a pretty smart marketing tactic. Let's be honest, it sets your game apart. People are going to look at it on their store shelves and go like, oh my god, Like, it's just like, this must be a unique game. Mario and Sonic 3. But I'm not super opposed to this one. I mean, like, hey, it's the London Olympics. Yellow kind of makes sense for it, I guess. And you know what? For like a Mario game, a Sonic game, that kind of thing, I'm cool with this. I think it's fine. But the one I'm not cool with are these motherfuckers, LucasArts, on the Wii. I don't have any LucasArts game on the Wii right now, and this is an Indiana Jones game that was made for the Wii that also released on the PS2. But this is what I'm talking about. All the LucasArts games had this stupid-ass yellow spine. At least this one is like, oh, it's a Mario game. Sure, make it yellow. All the LucasArts games had this. I'm like, you're LucasArts, not Picasso. I did not like it. And I think I actually bought Indiana Jones and the Staff of Kings on PS2, just so then I could avoid having the Wii one with the yellow spine and all that. I don't like it. Speaking of stuff I don't like, the Wii U boxes are a mess. These things are a mess. It's crazy to me how weird these boxes are, just because like a lot of times they follow the same template, sometimes they don't. You know, Wii Sports Club had a similar issue to Resident Evil The Dark Side Chronicles, because all these Wii U games have this little blue ridge. This one, yeah, they forgot it. I don't know why. But a lot of Wii U games either follow the trend of like, oh yeah, we're gonna have the actual game logo, or they don't. They just have like generic text. And this is like one of the worst offenders of it. Mario Kart 8, like this is literally like the most generic text possible. This is like what? Like italicized Arial font? Like that's what it looks like. It's not even like a Mario Kart-esque font. The most Mario Kart this font is the fact that it's slanted. Like, oh man, it's on the move. Like Mario Kart 7 had a more like Raceway themed font. This one just looks fucking pathetic. Star Fox Guard, like I don't know why the damn spine is cream colored. I had a friend looking at my Wii U games a little bit ago, and they were like, oh damn, like, you know, like you got this game from a smoker, huh? Like that's what it looks like. It looks like this game came from a smoker's house. Like, I don't know what else to say about it. And then Resident Evil Revelations and Deus Ex Human Revolution Director's Cut, for some reason, are the only Wii U games in North America with black spines. I don't get it. I mean, they're both M-rated games. Resident Evil is a horror game, so like, all right, sure, you know, like black spine. Deus Ex, I mean, like, yeah, it's a darker game, so like, sure. But it's just like, these games came out around the same time together, so I'm wondering if Nintendo was planning like to just kind of push like, oh, M-rated games in North America have a black spine now. Or like more adult games have a black spine, because they do that in Japan. I have Bayonetta 2 and even Xenoblade Chronicles X, which isn't M-rated, but it you know, is more adult, it's more mature. So it's just like, you know, they would do that in Japan and have, you know, black cases for those games or darker colored cases for those games. So maybe they were trying to do that here. I don't know. But the Wii U cases overall, the Wii U spines, just kind of like, I don't know, I love just how inconsistent they are, just how gross it all is. Nintendo was that whole generation with their spines. I mean, all I have to do is look at this right here, the Mario and Luigi games. These things go through the song and dance of like everything Nintendo did this generation, in terms of the first one that released, Mario and Luigi Dream Team. The logo here is just really basic. It's just using basic ass font. Whatever. If all the games did this, fine, but they don't, because the next Mario & Luigi game uses the actual game's logo. And then the third one, it uses kind of like a mix between the both, where it still uses like font that is themed around Mario and Luigi, but it's, you know, it's still pretty basic. And then it also shows my biggest problem with the Nintendo 3DS games. The fact that they swapped the logos midway through the generation, where it's just like most of the 3DS games, the first half of its life, where all the Nintendo published games during the first half of the Nintendo 3DS's life used put the Nintendo logo down here. Horizontal, on the very bottom, nice and pretty. And then later on in its life, after the Nintendo Switch released, they switched them, where now they're vertical, they're this direction, and they have this little, you know, they're on a red background, which, you know, is Nintendo's logo now. Nintendo's logo isn't this gray thing, which they introduced during the Wii era. No, they brought back, you know, kind of the red coloring of the Nintendo logo, which is super nice. But like, why? Wouldn't it have been fine to make this logo red or something? Just make the outline of the Nintendo logo red or something and keep it horizontal? No, instead they do this, and it looks gross. Like, I look at my Nintendo 3DS collection now, and there was a decent amount of Nintendo 3DS games that I bought after the Nintendo Switch came out. So in my entire collection, what once was just this beautiful, like, all these games that were white and they all follow like the same thing. All the Nintendo games had the Nintendo logo at the very bottom. Now we have these gross ass eyesores all over the collection. They look like chicken pox. And speaking of the Nintendo Switch, obviously we have to talk about them because this is probably one of the most consistent video game consoles game collection out there. 99% of the games follow the same exact format, which looks nice overall, though it can be hard to look on the shelf and pick out a game. You know, you can't just immediately look at a shelf and be like, I want to play that game. You have to kind of look at it for a while, which, you know, I definitely prefer stuff like, you know, the GameCube and even something like the original Xbox or something like that in terms of how all the games looked, in terms of like, oh man, you know, all the games have their own special, you know, background design for the spine. They have all their own unique logos and everything. You can immediately look at the collection, pick out a game, and it also looks nice. You know, they all follow a very similar like format in terms of box art template. And it all just fits together. I love that kind of stuff. Nintendo Switch goes for like minimalism and unity, like everything looking like it belongs together so much, like almost to a fault, you know, because like you look at it and it's cool to see that giant wall of red, but the problem is like it's harder to pick out games because of that. So a couple games decided to take that prerogative into their own stupid fucking hands. Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. For some reason, they don't have the title in all caps. All Switch games have the title in all caps. This one doesn't. And I've heard some people say, oh, well, they didn't put it in all caps because the title is too long and they had to make, you know, letters lowercase to have it fit on the spine. I thought like, all right, that might make sense, but no, all right, this is a different font, and I've seen titles that are longer that didn't have to do this. Like, I think it was Cadence of Hyrule. You know what they did? They just made the text smaller. Like, you can do that. They didn't here. I don't know why. And here's a big one, Super Bomberman R. Enough said. Thankfully, they actually reprinted Super Bomberman R with standard Switch, you know, Switch font and all that stuff. So I actually have that one too, because it was only like $10 when I saw it. I was just like, yeah, sure, let's do it. I think it's weird that it's just like it's centered. And then on top of that, the Konami logo is where it is. Like I said, enough said. The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. Yeah, this one I also feel a little bad about just because it's so, you know, unique, but it's not trying to be annoying. It's not trying, you know, like they're trying to do something cool. They're trying to have, you know, like the font be the font from the game's logo, which is nice, but it's also, you know, like it's just like, come on, man. It sticks out too much. And again, thankfully, I believe there's another version of this game here that you can buy that has a more standardized font. I just don't have it. So it's just like, hey, you know, there's hope. But then I got this with the collector's edition of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I just don't like steel books, man, that just don't have like, it's just black. They don't have anything on here. What the hell is this game? I don't even like the inside of this. You know, this is just me complaining about Smash Ultimate, but it's just like the inside is like Battlefield, but comparing this to like how the actual Smash Bros. Ultimate box looks, like I'm just like, why would I want this? Like, this is garbage in comparison. Like, why would I want this? Why is the title this? Why is there a description of the game on the spine? Okay, so, yeah, that was just a collection of, like, spines that I looked at through my collection, and I was just like, nope, I don't actually care. I know I talk about spines a lot, but it's because, like, I find that spines are some of the more like interesting things to like be like, oh, what does the game's spine look like or something like that, because you know that's what the game is gonna look like on your shelf, and that's, you know, that's where the game is gonna be, you know, like I'm gonna put it on my shelf and I want to know like what I'm gonna be pulling off the shelf to play the game. I just always found that like you know, when I would watch like unboxing videos of games back in the day, I would always be interested in how the spine would look, and I'd see like these people make these like 2-minute long unboxing videos. They get a game like 2 days early, and what do? They go like, all right guys, we got Prey here, so here's the front of the cover, here's the back of the cover, and here's the inside of the game. All right, see you next week.